Tokenize, let's innovate, bringing answers to the digital state. From finance to games, we're redefining, connecting the dots, the future is shining.
We're going to run through and we're going to do some quick introductions before we start deep diving a little bit more into AI agents and wallet security. So let's start on the far end and work our way over.
Yeah, I'm Mehow. I'm the CEO of MatterFi and American Fortress, which you'll find out about on the next pitch right after this panel. We make a universal self-address system where you have a name and then all other wallets in the world can compute your receive addresses and no one knows what they are. Very useful for robots.
I'm Jacque Voorhees. Everyone always insists that I say I'm also the father of Eric Voorhees because that's how I'm known in this industry. I'm CEO of a company called Icecap AI, and what we do is we are trying to use the power of AI to give to websites the advantages of a human salesperson in a store. So stores have salespeople. We have AI agents on websites that try to do the same thing. And guess what? They're getting better at it than the actual salespeople in the real store. So we're pretty excited.
My name's Paige. I'm a previous neuropsychologist turned founder. I'm Chief Product Officer and co-founder of The Connector, which is a non-custodial, seedless MPC decentralized finance super app that relies on 3D facial biometrics and AI. That was a mouthful.
It took me a second to grok it all, and I was like, all right, those are the things for Matt McKibbin. I've been in the digital asset space for 12 years, was doing the Bitcoin meetups, D10E conferences for those in 2016, 17 with Brock running around the world. I'm a co-founder of DecentralNet, which is my early stage investment advisory firm focused on a lot of crypto impact, some longevity in biotech, and now a lot of decentralized AI things. I'm also a GP at Hyla Funds, which is a fund of funds, second longest running fund of funds in the digital asset space. So we have a liquid venture, we have a market neutral quant, and we are very bullish on the decentralized AI managers that we've invested in. A couple of things that I am an early contributor to Morpheus in the AI agent space with Dave Johnston and Eric Voorhees, and just really, really bullish on the ability for agents to scale and abstract away all of the technical difficulties of crypto.
Yeah. And for those that are late, my name is Player One Taco, also an early code contributor to Morpheus. I'm the CDO of Manifest Network, Manifest AI. We are a decentralized, sovereign AWS infrastructure running tier 3, tier 4 data centers around the world. But today, as we've sort of heard, the big issue is agents in Web3 with wallets. And so that has sort of been talked about as being what really is needed for agents to work together. We've seen that be moving really forward with Morpheus in the Morpheus More marketplace. We've seen that with MatterFi simplifying wallet addresses, and we've seen this also in the user side of things. So Jacque, I'm going to go to you.
Oh no.
Where does shopping come into a wallet AI experience?
It may not. And so I'm glad you started with me so that I could get that on the table. I was a little horrified when I saw I was on this panel because I look at that from the shopper's perspective, which is where we are focused. And sorry, I love the payment processing, the wallet aspect of this, but the part that has captured my passion is before you can process a payment, there has to be a sale. Okay, that is where we're focused, and what we're seeing the AI agents can do. Let's call it pre-wallet, or pre-payment, if you will. And there, it's going crazy because we're realizing that whatever the AI agents can do in terms of go out there and buying stuff, in terms of actually the human beings making a decision to buy something, is a very psychological process. And it goes into all kinds of things computers cannot normally deal with. The human emotion, the bonding with a salesperson. Do I like the feel of the store? All those kinds of things. Guess what? AI, and especially AI agents, can nail that stuff. They can be trained to focus on that part of the sale. So that's what we're seeing is kind of the big evolution that's going to happen. I mean, it's going to happen in all kinds of things, but where we're focused again is that what makes the person choose to buy psychologically, and the AI agent can directly address that.
Awesome. Paige, on the user experience side and the wallet functionality, where do you see AI agents coming into the play of neurodiversity of users?
Yeah, I mean, I think I mentioned this before in my last speech, but I think that AI agents are definitely the future, particularly when it comes to finance. And the reason being is actually I just looked at a global survey and how many people globally do you think are financially literate? And I'm talking about basic financial information and concepts such as inflation.
At least less than 1%.
Oh, well, all right, it's actually higher, it's 33%, but still quite low if you think of globally, right? And we're not even taught finance from K to 12. And you start to ask yourself, why is that? But that's a separate rabbit hole. My point is AI agents in terms of wallet infrastructure and payments, they act as a cognitive prosthetic, meaning it uses data-informed decisions to drive human behavior. So when we look at the brain and human behavior as a whole, in neuroscience, we like to say there's the big brain and there's the little brain. And the big brain is the prefrontal cortex. This is the part of the brain that responds to rational decision making. The little brain is in the limbic system. This is emotionally driven decisions. And actually, our brains were evolved and developed to rely more on the limbic system, the emotional reason, to make decisions. And this is because our brains like to be as efficient as possible. Our processing speed is so low that to go through every single option would be too timely. It would require too much energy. So sometimes we just go with our gut feeling. And maybe that's not the best, especially in terms of financial decision making. Right? So where AI agents come in is they can increase processing speed, make more data-informed decisions, which is better for long-term and avoids impulsive emotional decision making.
So do you think shit coins, aka meme coins, are not going to succeed if we're going to have AI traders instead of going on the emotion side of things then?
That's an interesting question. I think that meme coins, they have their place. I mean, it's so psychological because they rely on the part of our brains that like instant gratification. And AI agents, they'll delay that. But at the same time, it suffices that emotional part of our brain because we don't have to spend so much energy, thinking, how am I going to generate yield? My mother, she just came up to me and she's immigrated from Romania, and she says, it's time that I start thinking about my pension. Like, what do I invest in? Where do I even start? Where do I put it? Do I go to my bank? Do I go to you guys? What are you doing? The majority of the people, it's just they don't even know where to start until it's too late, and that's where AI agents can come in. And I mean, meme coins, it's a separate concept.
I've got to just jump in just for 1 second. It's interesting that you're using AI agents to try to get the emotion out of the process. We're using AI agents to try to leverage the emotion and respond to that emotion illogically, but effectively.
Yeah,
Opposite strategies.
Tell me more about that, because these are the two flip sides of AI, right? Because it's like, people are scared all the time, like, oh, what if my AI becomes emotional or lack thereof? That's where you see the horror movies, the lack of emotion or no empathy, and then she starts murdering everyone, Megan Fox in that last movie. And so
we look at that as a good thing.
Yeah, so tell me more.
We'll talk.
Okay.
It was definitely entertaining.
So, Mehow, with AI agents and safety, one of the things that we, as a human, we might not always remember the 26 to 450 alphanumeric wallet addresses. How are AI agents going to save me?
So, there's two separate problems there. One is how to abstract the addresses so that they're safe to use and they're just a name. So you'll hear all about that on the next presentation, because that's like half my tech is that. But it's also really interesting because how does a robot know like who the counterparty is, right? Like where does it get its addresses from? It has to have a crypto wallet. Obviously, it also has to have a regular TradFi wallet for it to be able to, run around and do stuff for you. So in Elon's vision where, we all have an Optimus and the Optimus is going to get groceries, it's got to spend money. So how do we prevent the Optimus from getting robbed, right? So that's one of the problems that we solve. So we have this layer of name to stealth address abstraction that solves that problem. So when no one knows how much money the robot has, for example. But the other thing that we're doing with our AI team, which is admittedly small because we're not like an AI company, but we've found so much adjacency to what we're doing in AI that we're developing autonomous AI that's got local access to the wallet, and it also has safety agents, right? So it'll like keep track of, okay, what are the scams happening right now? How do you avoid them? So if the user is now interacting with their local agent with their wallet, they'll be able to have a conversation like, hey, what's my balance? What can I do today? Get the best staking return, right? And by the way, and if the user tries to do something dangerous, the independent AI will say, hey, I want to chill, and you should probably not stake there, for example, right? So that's how we're blending the entire infrastructure.
Nice. Matt, so one of the things that we both sort of worked on is agents talking to agents and doing things for each other. How are we seeing that evolve, and what do you think is next on that?
So yeah, I think there's a number of agent to agent frameworks that are coming out. I believe Nanda from MIT is coming out with a standard there for agents talking to each other as well. Google has agent to agent, and then there's MCP with Anthropic. So it'd be interesting to see. I don't know how all of these are going to necessarily be standardized, or if they will be standardized, but we're seeing a lot of the agent protocols that will communicate with each other and allow them to seamlessly plug in versus like other previous methods. With Morpheus, we're plugged into the A2A standard and on Coinbase, allowing them to trade and own assets as well, and then power all of your agents with compute permissionlessly. One thing that's interesting that we're working on at DecentralNet is a smart contract auditing agent platform called Bevor AI, and so. You were talking about these agents like going and finding out what the vulnerabilities are, and so they're working with Hacken, and they're talking to Coinbase, and they're talking to a lot of Nanda as well, and figuring out like if you're going to touch a smart contract, has it been tested? And it's not going to replace human auditors anytime soon. It can be used as a co-pilot, but it's just really interesting that we're going to have some of these like security systems that allow for security tests and pretty quickly with the agents.
Yeah, and so we're actually we built an MCP agent for our wallet, and then our AI, the independent AI, is also an MCP agent. So like any AI can really interact with the wallet, but that's it. Yeah.
So as we've sort of gone down this rabbit hole of the user side and now agent to agent and everything like that, Paige, where does this sort of all rely into like the user interface with the human connecting with an AI agent in transactions?
Yeah, I think the future of user interface is no interface. I think that as we evolve, we're going to start having these AI avatars that you interact with, that you can speak with, like you were saying. And I think that's really, it's the future. I mean, you can think of it as like a Siri of finance, and you can talk to it as like an AI robo-advisor. There was actually another study done, and they analyzed the impact that AI robo-advisors had, and 40% of their clients were more happy, and they experienced a 25% increase in yield. And so I think it also depends, and a good differentiation, I was thinking about what you said, is whether you're targeting the limbic system or the executive function, it largely depends on the use case. So in your use case, it's really great to have an emotionally intelligent AI. In my use case, in the financial, exactly, it's not as beneficial. So definitely use case matters.
So we have two sides of the same coin here, both the not being the product and being the product, and but really more enhancing the shopping experience. And one of the things that you've worked on, I don't know, am I allowed to talk about the privacy thing or no?
The privacy thing.
What privacy thing? I'm gonna skip it.
Yeah, better to skip it if I don't even know. Is that private?
Oh man.
It's so private, he doesn't even know it.
Okay, so
Real private.
one of the big things that we all worry about in all of this is privacy and data ownership. And so both in the user transaction sides, we've seen a lot of that. And then Mehow, you guys have had a really interesting solution to that with your wallet.
So yeah, the way we solve privacy is you want the ease of use of like an unstoppable or ENS, but you don't want people to know how much money you have, right? So instead of keeping like a static list of addresses, our system dynamically generates the addresses for the user, but it's completely decentralized. So the only two counterparty wallets in the transaction know what the addresses are, and that's why it's called a stealth address. So like in Vitalik speak, it's universal stealth addresses for all chains and tokens via one-way non-interactive cryptographic proof, otherwise known as PayPal for crypto.
So one of the things though that happens with that is, as we had commissioner of the IRS here earlier, we're looking more and more in regulation. So if no one knows anyone's address, how are you solving that?
Well, so actually the parties in the transactions, remember what that IRS doesn't want people to know is like everybody to know what you're doing. Like no one wants that. TradFi is not like that. You don't walk into a bank and like, oh, just because you're there, like, you know, the guy's next to you account balance. Like that would be a really disastrous feature. Yet that's a feature of crypto today. I mean, that's just a feature, and we have to keep kind of like dealing with it manually to work around that, right? So in our system, actually, everything is displayed like PayPal, and you can have KYC proofs and even proofs of funds. Because of the way it works, the stealth addresses being unique actually allow you to have greater KYC than it's possible in TradFi because you have end-to-end cryptographic proof. So like I can send money to her and then she can send money to you and then prove to you that it came from me, which actually in TradFi is really hard because like you're sending around paperwork. No, really, trust me, bro, it came from here. So there's a lot of features in our system that I think the IRS will enjoy because it lets people comply. Right. So like, for example, if you got to do a report, like, what did you do with your digital assets? Now you got to explain, like, and remember, okay, this address from like 4 months ago, what did it do? Or a year ago, right? In our system, that's not an issue. Like, you know what it did because it's a name, right?
Jacque, as on the shopping experience side, where are we seeing agents are you looking more for the agent to help the store or the shopper?
Well, both. I mean, in a free market, you want to help both. What we're seeing is, let's put it down to a level we can all understand. If you're a jewelry store, what's the most common thing that happens when a customer comes in? They will always 90% of the time they'll say, "I'm just looking around." Right? We all say that. I'm just looking around. Okay, so in the sales process, to turn the "I'm just looking around" into a transaction with a credit card or a wallet or something, it's a journey. Okay, it's a psychological journey. And so part of that is as you go through and you show the agent, the bot is showing all the products and going through all their objections and answering all that's relatively easy. But then what happens when they say, well, I'm just looking around, I'm going to shop around a little bit and, you know, maybe I'll come back. You know, that's what everyone says. Okay. A human salesperson can't do much with that. But think what an agentic chat bot can do. Can say, oh, you'd like to look around. Yeah, I see that you're interested in this Seiko 127 watch. Oh, yeah, well, there's 6 other places that are selling that right now in this area or, you know, with whatever. And here are the different prices. And you know what? We don't want to be undersold in the store. So if you're willing to make the transaction right now, I will beat the best price. I will meet the best price that's out there. Let's do this right now. Okay. Our agentic bots can do that because they go out and they check all the other prices. And then they check to see what the rules are that the proprietor has set for discounts. They take all that together. And again, you're talking in a couple seconds, they deliver that. I've done your shopping around for you. We'll meet the best price. Let's do it. That's the kind of thing that agentic bots can now do.
So we've seen some faux pas, I would say, that I like to just sort of make fun of it, where agentic agents that are working on behalf of a company trying to solve solutions for customers have offered more than they were supposed to, whether from people attempting to game the system or just that agent is trying to create that emotional bond. Where do you see that coming?
Yeah, it's a problem. we're new enough in this that we don't quite know where the minefields are, where the mines are in the field, because we all do know these things can hallucinate. They could just make up shit, right? And that's one of the scariest things for us in this space, is figuring out how to put the guardrails on the bot and how to and that gets into programmatic stuff where you can't do, if X happens, you can't do Y. You know, that's a program. That's not the way AI is used to being corralled. So we have to figure out how we use sort of traditional guardrails on these computer programs so they don't go crazy and kill us all or whatever the danger is. Yeah, we don't have it solved yet.
That's comforting.
So, Matt, one of the things that we've seen as you're talking about agents auditing other agent, or not necessarily other agents, but code that could be created by more agents. And as agents are getting more expressive and creating some pretty cool lines of code, the expressions that we're going to see are just going to get deeper and deeper. So where do you think that's going to go, and how deep down the rabbit hole do we go on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to see 6 months out into the future at this moment. Like, AI is accelerating really rapidly. We're going to have a lot of AI building AI, and so like that rapid acceleration is just really hard. I mean, we're going to have to rely, like, if the AI software agents are going to be building all of this stuff, we're not going to be able to audit all of the codes. You're going to have to AI do that, and you're going to have, I imagine, like squads or teams or swarms, whatever the terminology is there, of one continual hierarchy of others checking each other's work, and then maybe with some human in the loop at some point to be like, all right, well, we can actually ship this. But yeah, it's going to get wild real fast, and hopefully, you know, it's a positive wild versus a negative.
Nice. As we start to wrap things up, I'm going to go through everyone for a call to action, but I also want to learn, we have mainstream media sort of talk on all the dirty stuff that's going on in blockchain and in AI, you know, and most recently we've had a court order issuing OpenAI to save all outputs in an unencrypted database. So yeah, there's that happening. Oh yeah, no, that happened.
More Venice.
More Venice.
Well, that was going to be my answer.
Yes. So out of all of those scary things, I want to hear one good thing you've heard in the last week or so in AI and blockchain. Mehow?
I mean, we were getting really amazing results with AI auto coding, right? So we're kind of integrating the AI auto coding into our entire tech stack. So because it makes our devs go way faster, it makes the documentation faster. You do have to have a human component because it gets stuff wrong like all the time, but it gets it wrong enough to a low enough rate that it's still highly productive, right? So like for us, I mean, we're using it a lot, and like really great problems to give it is like, oh, here's a pile of C++ code, now turn this into JavaScript, right? So like there's certain automations, and then it'll get it like 80% correct, but that 80% is a great place for the human dev to go in and start. So I like to look at the results, not so much the media.
Awesome. And what is a call to action today for everyone that is listening in or watching here in this room or later on?
I mean, I think I have one coming up, so we'll save it for that.
All right. Jacque, what about you? Something positive in the last week in AI?
Something positive. Okay, can I go to a month, not a week? Okay, I was a month ago, I was giving a presentation at a group of jewelers, probably about 60 people in the room, and was telling them the product that we're coming out with, that an AI bot that will help your website actually sell in the same way your salesperson could do it in the store. Who would be interested in being a beta tester? Every hand in the room went up. I've never seen a response to something like that. So the market for this stuff, when people see a value to it, they're not looking at AI as Terminator. They're looking at something that's going to help them. That's been my experience. So that's the marketplace.
All right. Any calls to action?
What do you mean, like a URL or?
Yeah, a website or anything, or just come say hi and not call you Eric's dad.
Well, go to icecap AI. That's our website. You'll see the product called Ask Away. I'm doing a pitch tomorrow, so come see my pitch. That's it.
I'll do.
Yeah.
Paige, something awesome in the last week or so.
This is something small, but I interpreted it as a much larger leap in terms of industry adoption. And it was actually when my father-in-law, he came up to me and he asked me how to use ChatGPT to interpret his mother's blood work and doctor results. And I thought, wow, like, my dad's scared, excuse my language, shitless of AI. He doesn't want to be anywhere, but yet everywhere you go, people are becoming more and more open to this idea. And that open-mindedness is what's going to continue to drive innovation and drive the industry forward, and where we'll begin to see real change. So I took that as an excellent sign.
Awesome. And any calls to actions for those listening in or watching here in the room?
Yeah, I mean, come see my pitch tomorrow. You'll get to learn a little bit about what we're doing at the connector, and download our app, give it a try. In 20 seconds, you'll have essentially 9 wallets in one.
Amazing. Matt, how about you? Something amazing in the past week or so?
I was looking at my tweet to get it proper, but Morpheus launched their API gateway in their marketplace. Woo! So they can access the compute. Another thing that I thought was really interesting, Brittany Kaiser, my other half, she was down in Brazil in the past 3 weeks, and the entire, in terms of data ownership, the entire Brazilian government is giving everyone a data savings wallet and allowing them to own their data. And so we have to own our data in this thing. We have to be able to own it and not owned by like OpenAI and all these other companies. So I see meaningful progress in that world.
Awesome. And any calls to action?
Yeah. Follow me on Twitter at Matt McKibbin.
Spell that out for the algorithm.
Matt, MATT_MCKIBBIN.
Awesome. Thank you. And I want to thank everyone for joining us today, and a huge shout out to Michael Trippin for having and hosting us here today. Thank you so much. For those that don't know, there's a lot of good projects. So this day is not even over yet, but tomorrow, as you heard, there's going to be pitches from other projects here at Tokenize and BitAngel. So please make sure you come. Thank you all for joining us today.
Assets to the digital state. From finance to games, we're redefining, connecting the dots. The future is shining.